Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome here to the grid at the Collier Cup. We like to celebrate the Collier Cup here at the Hillier U.S. Vintage Grand Prix at Watkins, Glen, because Sam and Miles Collier, who both raced in the original road races here from 1948 to 1952, they were kind of mostly responsible for importing MGs. MG, check a look at this badge here, Morris Garage, the best car company ever in the history of the world. I'm an MG guy. Hawaii Dave Nicholas is an MG guy. So, Dave, I know this race, being somebody that's been a motorsports fan your whole life, growing up here in Binghamton, this means a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That's why we're out here in the rain. Yep.
That's the least you've ever said to me, Dave Nicholas. That's amazing. Now, Dave Nicholas has been photographing. You need to check out barkboys.com, B-A-R-C boys.com, right? Because you've been taking photographs and you've been to almost every famous race. But expect this car right here, Honeybee, to win this race. He's a very fast, even though he's a Group 1 MGA, because now we're going to come up here to a Group 3 MGB. After the MGA, basically a truck frame on that car. Now we go to a unibody construction of the MGB, one of the greatest sports cars ever made. Andrew Moore, you've been running here with us in this event for a long time. What does running your MG in the Collier Cup mean to you?
I'm excited to be here, Ben. I mean, I love the history of the motorsport, Collier, brothers, everything that happens downtown. I ran the reenactment Friday night the first time through the back roads, and man, those were some brave drivers. I had no idea. So thrilled to be here. But today, keep it on the road. Don't do anything stupid. It's been a great weekend. Looking forward to the race.
Nice. I love it. Andrew Moore in that British Racing green MG. And we honor the Collier brothers. And Sam Collier, unfortunately, lost his life at the road course that Andrew was talking about in the old street course in 1951. Then we come to Peter Usdavinas in the MG. Are we still allowed to say midget in this day and age? Am I going to get canceled for that? MG Little People. So tell us about this midget and how it even compares to the MGB.
Well, it's just a bit smaller in every regard. The size of the chassis, the engine, but very similar as far as the construction of the engine, that type of thing. Just it's aptly named midget.
Nice. I love it. And we're going to get a shot here because this blue car here, the 51A, is an actual MGA twin cam. Then we've got Heather Richards back there in her MG midget, and then an MGTF. So, Jonathan, as they're firing it up, take it away. Am I taking this? Yeah, I'll take my.
So, let's get underway. Great stuff, Ben, as always, and I know that Ben's going to be up here like Flash because he loves this race, and I'm going to allow him, obviously, to call it with you, Scott, because he absolutely adores his MGs. He has an MGA. I think he's got a collection, to be honest. And so I'm looking forward to getting his words of wisdom on these wonderful cars. And I hope you've enjoyed our weekend. We try to bring you the best we can of the coverage from Watkins Glen, and it's certainly been a fun weekend, that's for sure. Not much you can do about the weather.
No, nothing at all. I just kind of have to adapt to it and roll with the punches, as they say.
Well, what's your favorite mark, then? If his is MG, what's yours?
Well, actually, mine is MG also, only because I used to race an MG midget in the SCCAF production. I didn't race it especially well, but I had a lot of fun. So Usdavinas, the last guy that he was talking to there, Usdavinas, who won both races last year in an MG midget, so I always cheer for them.
Well, I must have it in the genes. I've never been a racing driver, although my mum went to a seance and said that I was in my previous life a racing driver, and that I should always wear a safety belt, which I do. But my grandmother had an MG midget, and my mother had a bright yellow Triumph Spitfire.
Wow.
So I was always in the back, crunched up. I think that's why I have bad knees now, because I've been in those two cars, in the back mostly.
My dad had an Austin Hilly 3000, and on days like this, it was a very big challenge because they had the tunnel covers that had all the snaps on them in the back, and by the time you got the top up and the plastic windows rolled up, it had stopped raining. So looking forward to this Collier Cup coming up, Jonathan, with production cars in it, MG midgets, MGAs in there, and again, I know that's Ben's favorite mark, so he'll be up there up here very, very shortly.
Let's head down to Ben Sissel.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor. Here I am near Winner's Circle. We have a New York and an international legend, Ed Clute, famous pianist from this area, has done just a little bit of everything in the music business. But Ed, it is my honor to give you the mics, or put the mics in front of you, for you to give the most famous words in motorsports for this great MG Collier Cup. Ed, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may start your engines.
Nice. Thank you, Ed Clute. What an honor that was, ladies and gentlemen. And here they come, the MGs, the famous MGs of the Collier Cup, racing here at Watkins Glen International for the Hilliard U.S. Vintage Grand Prix. Gentlemen, I'm going to send it back up to you in the booth.
Well, the mist is still, as it has been since, what, 8 o'clock this morning?
Yes,
Very much apart. It's mist and haze and rain, frankly. But we are about to get underway in our final race of the day. And as you can see, the Honda Civic, as always, leading them around.
I really hate it when the weatherman's right, Jonathan.
Yeah, I saw the weather this morning in the hotel, and yeah, I could see that broad strands of the Midwest and New York area were going to be drenched. And sadly, they have been for the last couple of weeks, not necessarily just here, but certainly in much of the parts of the Northeast. So sadly, and of course Mississippi, hearts go out to everybody there. But as we remember the people of September 11th, and as we remember the great Queen Elizabeth II, who probably has been in a fair few MGs in her life, yes, it's a special weekend, there's no question.
Yeah, the British Racing Green was very famous in the Formula One when, before really sponsorships, they were always in the country's colors of the particular car that was there, and the British Racing Green were very well represented on Formula One grids.
Yeah, so it was, French was blue.
Blue, yes.
The British were racing green, or green, a
Yes.
dark, a particular dark green, almost like those trees. The Italians, red. Who else? The Germans, silver.
Yes, and the
Or aluminium, if you will.
Aluminum, yes.
Aluminum, to be corrected. Any other countries have their own?
USA was red, white, and blue, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there were any others, but I'm going to go with you. I know the Italians were always red.
Of course.
I don't think Enzo Ferrari would have had it any other way.
And today they were red-faced
Yes.
because they lost
Oh,
at their own home of Monza to Red Bull. Sacre bleu, as the French would say.
Verstappen looks like he's indeed going to claim his Formula One championship.
At the moment, yeah, in fact, he could do it in Singapore, the next race. So here we go. Coming to the line, the Honda comes out of the way. We'll watch for the flag marshal to wave the green. If he's happy with what he sees, he will wave that flag. And he does so, and we are away for the Collier Cup for the final race of the weekend here at Watkins Glen. Away they go, down towards the Mission Foods turn. One for the first time, and they're three abreast for a moment. And the 25 goes slightly wide. And can he get back? Can he back? Yes, just about, but that was a bit of a moment. And in comes the 76. And this is starting to get very good already, because we've got a race on our hands, and I'm going to let Ben jump into the hot seat because I know he is chomping at the bit to get his MGs.
Those MGs, we have MGA and MG Midget out there along with MGB. Ben, I know this is one of your favorite, if not the favorite class that you have, based on the fact that you have an MGA, I believe, correct?
Yeah, I've had all kinds of MGs. I've had all three of those, a B, a Midget, and an MGA. And I love the history here because we had an MGA and an MGA twin cam, a Midget, a B, all coming into turn one at the same time. And don't forget the TF. Dave Nicholas just ahead of Peter Eustavinus. Now, Peter Eustavinus, that car should be a little bit more nimble than Andrew Moore's MGB, but that is absolutely beautiful there. Jim Holliday in that MGA twin cam from 1959. The twin cams made just a little bit more power than the regular 1620s, 22s, or the 1600s of the MGAs, but you had to have a great mechanic. They proved to be a little bit less reliable depending on whose hands the cars were in. We're getting some great shots of the street cars here. Lots of MGs. One thing that's really cool about the Hilliard U.S. Vintage Grand Prix is a lot of the fans and spectators drive out their classic cars as their everyday drivers to come to be spectators at these events, and it's so much fun to see. As we see there, the Lotus and the Rabbit Cabriolet. That white Rabbit Cabriolet as a kid growing up in the 80s and 90s, that was like the cheerleader car of the time. There's Andrew Moore in that MGB ahead of Dave Nicholas now. Now that MGB should have an 1800cc engine. Really well balanced unibody construction like we talked about. Front engine, rear wheel drive, very low slung. Andrew Moore was saying that he had a great time yesterday, and that's an early MGB in 1965. I think the first MGB was 1962. As he comes around Franklin Road Apparel, turn 10 and 11. Now look, there's Dave Nicholas popping out. Dave Nicholas is in a 1960 MGA. And then Peter Usdavinas in a 1964 MG Midget. The MG Midget should probably have a 1275 if he's out here racing it.
Yeah, that's the Mark I. It does have a 1275cc engine in it. I only know that because that's an MG Midget similar to the one that I raced. And we had a 1275 in ours. It was a Mark I, and it was very potent back in the early SCCAF production days.
Yeah, so much fun to drive. You can feel every input you're getting into the car responds to it immediately. You can see these great lines of the MGA. Other than maybe a Jaguar XK120, for my money, I think the MGA has the prettiest lines of any sports car.
Yeah, the MGA was launched in 1955, and the MGA twin cam that you're talking about, that was from 1958 to 1960. There was 2,211 of those twin cams that were made. Twin overhead camshaft cylinder head, as what the name would imply, a twin cam for MGA.
Peter Usdavinas coming into the Big Machine Vodka Spike Coolers inner loop bus stop here. You can really see the inputs that he's putting into the front wheels as he tries to get the power back down. Coming out running a little bit more of the rain line here. There is Heather Richards. This is a great story. 1968 MG Midget. This is her first major race weekend with SVRA. She did a great school and race weekend with VRG at Summit Point. Her husband helps take care of that yellow MGA that we're seeing out there, Kevin. But welcome Heather Richards. She's doing great. She's been a long-time photographer with us, but now she's out there running with us, living the dream. And then that's Glen Moore in that number 56, 1955 MGTF. There was an overlap between this design, which is more of like a pre-war design with these TDs, the TCs, and the TFs. And this was the last year of the TFs, I believe, and the first year of the MGA, like you said. But anytime you're racing a car with wire wheels at an SVRA event, you have my attention. I just love the look of wire wheels.
Yeah, the MG Midget was produced between 1961 and 1979, and MG encouraged racing to sell cars, a common theme that we have seen throughout this weekend, that they used racing both as development and as a way to publicize and to sell their cars. MG encouraging racing to sell their cars had class wins at the 12 Hours of Sebring by drivers such as Sterling Moss, Bruce McLaren, and Steve McQueen. And again, a common theme we've seen here, Ben, throughout the weekend, whether it be historic Trans Am or these particular group cars that back in the day, as they do today, they used racing as a platform to sell the cars in the showroom.
Safety fast was their motto, which I always thought was kind of an oxymoron, but you love it. And you think about like the Sebring days with that iconic MG bridge over Sebring, over the track. Jim Holliday said he came from, wasn't able to race with us the last couple of years because of COVID. He is Canadian, but he's out there showing us how it's done in his 1959 MGA twin cam. And the twin cams are getting more and more rare on the racetrack with us just because they were rare to begin with. They're a little bit harder to work on, and they break a little bit easier. So everybody's kind of gone to the 5-main bearing 1622, but I really appreciate him coming out. It looks like Glen Moore is going to come in. He's got his hand up as he comes around.
Yeah, we're glad to have a lot of our both fans and competitors that we're finally able to come down from Canada and join us here at Watkins Glen International.
it looks like Dave Nicholas might have a little problem with the left front of his car. He's got a left front lean. I wish you could see this car up close because the preparation on Heather Richards' car is unbelievable, and she is having so much fun out there. What a beautiful car.
And that's one of the tracks that we will be visiting next year, Summit Point Raceway, Ben.
Yeah, SVRA will be at Summit Point. I'm really excited to get out there, especially for our groups like this, our group 1, 3, 4, 5, groups 8. That's a perfect track. Group 2, the Formula Fords, should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a very technical track, but it does have some long straightaways where you can open up a Formula Ford and draft by people. But it is a very technical track and very fun to drive.
And MG also made saloon cars, but really what they became known for after the 1950s were these inexpensive, really fun sports cars. And that's what they are. They're really easy to operate, not unlike a lawnmower, just for how simple the cars and the mechanics are in these cars. And just so much fun to drive on a country road. The beauty of MGs, and like I said, I love the Mini Coopers, that I just absolutely love driving them because they're the only cars that are fun to drive the speed limit on the back roads of Tennessee. Just got word that car 56 went into the paddock, the 1955 MGTF. I hope nothing major was wrong. We saw him put his hand up as he was coming in, indicating to all the drivers, so we appreciate that. But we're looking at our leader right now, Andrew Moore, in that 1965 Group 3 MGB. Now look, he got my memo about wearing the brightly colored gloves so we can see what their hands are doing. So thank you, Andrew Moore. We love that. We like seeing all the input that the drivers are putting into these cars. Just a little bit offline there to try to find grip. And then there's Jim Holliday in that 1959 MGA twin cam. Look at the lines of that car. No door handles. There's a little pull string inside the door.
Yeah, as MG went along, their cars got a little bit bigger and a little bit more powerful as they went from the MG Midget up to the MGA, the MGB, and then the MGB GT with a V8 engine in it.
Yeah, those are monsters.
Yes, they are.
So you can get an MGB GT with the MGB 1800 engine, but then they went up to the
V8
Range Rover Buick. What is it, a 2.0? I can't remember the displacement of it, but it's an all aluminum, really, really nice engine. Too much power, really, for the chassis, but really fun to drive.
Much like the Triumph GT6 went up to the GT6 Plus, MGB was trying to keep up with them as they were usually in combat with the MGs in C production and D production.
So it looks like the battle right now is still between David Nicholas and Peter Ustavinas. Within about a second and a half of each other.
Yeah, we watched Ustavinas, I believe it was yesterday, they had to come up from the back of the pack and had a good drive. That was in the dry.
Yeah, they missed qualifying, he said. So, and here comes Heather Richards there. 1968 MG Midget. I like that she's taken out every other spline there in the grill. That gives it a really good look and probably puts more air to the radiator. Racing there for Jake Stable. You can see the logo there, and then those 3 stripes on the back are rookie stripes, and that's self-imposed by her to alert the other drivers that, hey, she's new to the track, new to racing, so give her some room. I love that she's doing that. She waves to Andrew, acknowledging that she sees him there. Andrew makes the pass into Franklin Road, turn 10 and 11 complex, and look at the lines of that MGB. It's got the headlight covers on it.
Yeah, it was good heads-up driving by Heather there, because a lot of times, you know, especially in these conditions, you're concentrating so much on trying to keep the car on the track that you sometimes lose a little bit of perspective as to who's coming up behind you or around you. But that was good driving. Heather, recognizing that he was coming up, more experienced driver, faster driver, pointed him by, and off he went, and everything was good.
Well, there's Ustavinas. See if Dave Nicholas is anywhere near.
Not in that shot.
No. So David Nicholas might have fallen off somewhere also. Looking for the 76 of David Nicholas. Hawaii Dave, I thought I saw something wrong with the left front of his car. It was just kind of dipping down as he came into the bus stop. So we'll see what's happening there. But Peter Ustavinas now scoring second, and that should be David Nicholas right in front of Holliday. Yeah, there he is. Oh, you can see the right front of his car is really bent up. As Andrew Moore comes through the Big Machine Vodka Spike Coolers Interloop bus stop here at Watkins Glen International Raceway.
And these cars, as we've said before all day long, Ben, are really a handful, especially coming through that bus stop, because you're downshifting, braking, and turning all at the same time. Plus, you have the added challenge of going across those weepers that can catch you out.
Yeah, this campground was full of campers at the beginning of the weekend, but the weather, and it's late Sunday, a lot of them are packing up to go home. There's Heather Richards. I'd like to stay at this camera position and see what's wrong with the front end of David Nicholas's car. With that beautiful British racing green. British racing green was the color of the British cars back in the Grand Prix days, the Bentleys, the Aston Martins, the Jaguars, and MGs and Triumphs.
And if I remember correctly on the Formula One grids, that would have been the BRM. And then the Ferraris for Italian Red, Jonathan and us and myself were discussing that while you're on the way up. The Matras were the French blue.
Andrew Moore coming into WeatherTech turn 9. Yeah, and boy from New York is saying don't forget about MGCs.
Oh,
the MGB with the inline 6 motor.
Boy from New York has been very helpful to us, hasn't he?
Yeah. And then in the last race, Sam Sabo saying that that's his aunt, Amber.
Yeah, he was cheering for her.
Yeah, I love it.
And she finished first overall, so
yeah,
well done for her.
Very good driver. She raced with us a couple weeks ago at New Jersey. It's Peter Ustavinas here in that MG Midget without the grill, and there's what it looks like with the grill, but with half of the slats. Chopped windshield. The windshields did go all the way up. These did have a manual rag top on them that sometimes when you're driving in the rain with the rag top on, you might get more wet. You know, just there's so many little places for the water to come in. And then there's Peter Ustavinas with more of a racing windshield on that. Just a little windscreen, I guess. And then there's a chopped MGA windscreen. Oh, here's the battle. Look at this. Twin cam versus just a regular MGA.
That twin cam should have the legs on it once they get to the straightaway.
But if you know David Nicholas, he can make his car really wide.
Oh, that is true.
And that was a great shot. You could see the brake light changes from a 59 to the 1960 MGA. Went to the more 2 brake lights, where the 59 had the 1 single brake light and turn indicators. And Andrew Moore is just really getting after it here. Oh, there's the front end damage. It looks like he came in contact with a wall somewhere. Not sure where. You can see the front grille a little bit out of whack, but Dave Nicholas is going to finish this race. He'll worry about the body work later.
I believe he came all the way from Palm Desert, California, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he lives out on the West Coast now, but grew up in Binghamton, New York.
So I got to race at Watkins Glen, if nowhere else, right?
Yeah.
From Binghamton, New York. But the history here at Watkins Glen International, the iconic tracks that we visit have a lot of history. This is one of the ones that has the most history to it. Home of the U.S. Grand Prix when it first came over, and just so many things that have happened here in so many different series at Watkins Glen International.
I encourage you to go to Dave Nicholas's website that he set up with his friends that have been taking photos of motorsports since they were teenagers, since he was 14. Bark Boys, BARCBOYS.com. Some unbelievable stories and photos there of kind of the golden years, the best days in motorsports, and they went to almost all of them.
I know out on the West Coast, one of the tracks that I was always sad to see go away was Riverside. Riverside was a great track out there. I'm fortunate enough to get to drive it before it went away, but
And the white flag is out on Andrew Moore. Now, if you know anything about British cars and Lucas Electronics and the rain, you know that to not count this race over yet, absolutely anything can happen. The frustrating thing about being a British car owner is you can pull the car into your garage and it ran fantastic. Next morning you can go out to start it and it won't start for anything. And that's just kind of the beauty of owning a British car from this era.
Yeah, they're great and fun to drive when they're running.
You can see kind of how the aerodynamics work on that car and how it's just pushing the water out to the sides and out from underneath it. As Andrew Moore comes into Big Machine Vodka Spike Coolers for the last time here this weekend at the Hilliard U.S. Vintage Grand Prix at Watkins Glen International. This is the last of our broadcast races this weekend here at Watkins Glen. I'm always so excited to come to Watkins Glen and a little bit melancholy or sad to leave it, as Dave Nicholas leads Jim Holliday as they come into the last turn here, turn 11, to take the white flag. Let's see how this little race shakes out.
Yeah, Holliday is right there, right on his rear bumper there. See if Holliday can get by.
Another great shot of Heather Richards coming down. It's a long downhill into Mission Foods turn 1.
It's a very difficult track to drive in the dry, let alone in the rain. They're doing an excellent job. Especially Heather, her first race here, and she's out there in the rain. A great job of driving being done by her.
All right, Andrew Moore still working. This is when MG drivers get nervous. You know, just a few more turns. They're listening to every little noise, looking down at their temperature, making sure that their battery and the electronics are still working. And all the Lucas is kicking in, and it looks like he's going to bring it home. Both taillights are still working in this rain. It's unusual. That's a really, really well-prepared MGB. I'd love to see that GoPro footage on the nose there.
Great camera shots, too, by the Green Light crew. Great job all weekend, especially out there in the rain.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Andrew Moore. Hard fought there at the beginning, and then hard fought just through the weather and keeping it all clean, keeping the rubber side down. Andrew Moore has the honor, which every MG racer wants, of winning the Collier Cup in what I would consider a bright, sunny British day at Watkins Glen. All right, let's see what's going on with Dave Nicholas and Jim Holliday back there, the fight with the MGAs.
Regular MGA is going to be just a little bit lighter, a little bit less horsepower, but suited for these conditions. Twin cam with a little bit more horsepower, but Holliday was right on the rear bumper there of Nicholas last time we saw him, Ben.
Yeah.
Coming through the mist, hard to see. There he is.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're looking down. We're about to sign off from the Hilliard U.S. Vintage Grand Prix. Now make sure you join us early October for the Mission Foods VIR Speed Tour, October 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. If you want to get tickets, it's going to be fantastic. We will be live streaming. We will be there with International GT, SVRA, the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli, Formula 4 U.S. Championship, and Formula Regional Americas Championship. It's going to be a crazy full weekend at the Mission Foods VIR Speed Tour, Virginia International Raceway. Go to virnow.com for tickets. That does it. Scott, close us out here at beautiful Watkins Glen International.
Well, I think it's been an excellent weekend despite the weather that was here today. We had a great weekend, great car count, a lot of people coming down from Canada. Again, thank you to all the fans that came out, especially today in these inclement conditions. We're very happy to be here, very happy to have you here. And Ben and also Jonathan, who had to take off a little bit early, thank you very much for allowing me to be part of it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for the Hilliard U.S. Vintage Grand Prix. Sad to say goodbye to Watkins Glen, but excited to be at VIR next. Thank you, guys.
The Mission Foods VIR Speed Tour returns to Virginia International Raceway October 6th through the 9th, featuring the Trans Am Series presented by Pirelli, the Sports Car Vintage Racing Association, International GT, Formula Regional Americas, F4 U.S. Championship, Mazda Heritage Cup, and the Saturday Haggerty Cars and Caffeine Car Show. You do not want to miss the Mission Foods VIR Speed Tour. For tickets, simply go to virnow.com.
Hon, the WeatherTech's here.
WeatherTech is the ultimate protection for your vehicle. Laser measured floor liners, no drill mud flaps, cargo liner, bump step, seat protector, and cup phone.
What about my car?
WeatherTech.
But here comes the battle for the checkered flag. I believe it is Ryan Tim getting the win.
That bush is really coming along. Hi, Carla. What are you up to? Oh, I just spent the whole morning having a little battery-powered fun. I can see that. This thing is powerful. Hey, honey. I was just gushing about our new favorite toy.
Let me tell you, the battery life on this thing, you wouldn't believe it. Sometimes we need a little extra push to get there. Sometimes, hey, I let it do all the work for me.
And it has so many different settings. All right, Joel, ready to go again?
You should join us sometime.